Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Market Update, where we discuss leading financial and economic developments in Asia, Europe, and North America. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. And first up, a fiery clash between two of the most powerful figures in global politics and business, US President Donald Trump and billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk, has erupted into a full-scale public feud on Thursday, sparking political turmoil, market volatility, and fresh uncertainty over the future of US industrial policy. Speaking from the Oval Office, Trump lashed out at Musk for his sharp criticism of the Republican tax bill, accusing the Tesla CEO of betraying their once close partnership. Quote, "I took away his EV mandate, and he just went crazy," end quote, Trump wrote on Truth Social, adding that he was, quote, "very disappointed," end quote, in Musk's behavior, and hinting at a termination of federal contracts with Musk's companies. The reaction was swift. Tesla's stock collapsed, shedding more market value in a single day than any time in its history. The ripple effect hit Wall Street, dragging the S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite down 0.5% and 0.8% respectively. Analysts attributed the drop not only to fears about Tesla's revenue outlook, but also broader concerns about rising political risks in Washington. Musk didn't stay silent. In a series of increasingly provocative posts on X, formerly Twitter, the billionaire retaliated by insinuating Trump was named in sealed documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. He also suggested Trump be impeached again and warned that cutting SpaceX contracts would kneecap the US space program. What began as a policy dispute quickly descended into personal attacks. Musk called Trump an ingrate, arguing that without his financial and other support in the 2024 campaign, quote, "Trump would have lost the election, Dems would control the House, and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate," end quote. Trump fired back by threatening to cancel billions in government contracts and subsidies benefiting Tesla and SpaceX, which have received $22.5 billion in unclassified federal funds since 2000. Quote, "This is such ingratitude," end quote, Trump said during a press conference with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, adding that Musk had long known the electric vehicle tax credits were set to expire. The legislation would slash those credits worth up to $7,500 by 2025, potentially wiping $1.2 billion off Tesla's bottom line. The fallout forced Republican lawmakers into an awkward position, with Trump commanding the loyalty of the party base and Musk increasingly becoming a GOP megadonor. Figures like House Speaker Mike Johnson attempted to de-escalate. Quote, "Policy differences shouldn't be personal," end quote, Johnson said, adding, quote, "Elon is a friend," end quote. Johnson, speaking to reporters late Thursday, said he wasn't sure, quote, "what has motivated this disturbance to begin, but obviously it's not helpful," end quote. After hours of acrimonious exchanges, a brief truce appeared possible. Responding to a low-profile user on X who urged both men to cool off and take a step back, Musk replied, quote, "Good advice. Okay, we won't decommission Dragon," end quote, referring to the SpaceX spacecraft that ferries astronauts and supplies to the International Space Station. He also acknowledged billionaire Bill Ackman's plea for peace, writing, quote, "You're not wrong," end quote. Yet the detente is far from assured. Musk openly mused at founding a centrist political party to represent, quote, "the 80% in the middle," end quote, hinting at long-term ideological ambitions that could further disrupt traditional party lines. And former Trump advisor Steve Bannon took the feud to a new level by questioning Musk's immigration status, calling for an investigation and even deportation. The rift also exposed deeper tensions over the GOP's legislative direction. Musk slammed the Republican tax package as a deficit-driving, quote, "abomination," end quote, filled with, quote, "disgusting pork," end quote. Despite being largely shaped by Trump loyalists, quote, "This bill was never shown to me ever once," end quote, Musk claims, adding, quote, "It was passed in the dead of the night," end quote. Just a week earlier, the relationship appeared intact, with Trump hosting a White House ceremony in Musk's honor. Now that camaraderie has unraveled into open warfare, the consequences will likely shape the political, financial, and technological landscape heading into the 2026 election cycle. Next up, we move to Asia. Indonesia has rolled out a $1.5 billion stimulus package aimed at jump-starting consumer spending and propping up growth amid global trade tensions and weakening commodity prices. The measures, which took effect on Thursday, include discounted transportation fares, toll road subsidies, wage support for millions of households, and enhanced social assistance for vulnerable groups. The nation's finance minister said the package is intended to spur consumption during the school holiday season and sustain second quarter growth near the government's 5% target. However, recent data suggests headwinds are mounting. Economic growth slowed to 4.9% in the first quarter of 2025, the weakest pace in over 3 years. The downturn reflects broader challenges facing Southeast Asia's largest economy. Indonesia, a key exporter of nickel, coal, and palm oil, has been caught in the crossfire of a global trade war. A 32% US tariff, temporarily suspended until July, adds further strain, even as Jakarta negotiates tariff reductions and promises increased American imports. Indonesia's president is redirecting infrastructure funds toward his $28 billion free meals initiative, hoping the large-scale program will stimulate grassroots economic activity. Still, economists warn that more aggressive fiscal and monetary actions may be needed. Bank Indonesia has already cut interest rates by 50 basis points this year and may ease further. Analysts remain cautious. Quote, "We expect GDP growth to dip to 4.7 through 4.8% in the coming quarters," end quote, said Maybank's Brian Lee, noting that fragile consumer confidence and global uncertainties could limit the effectiveness of the stimulus. We are certainly living in interesting times. The world is in a new era of uncertainty and increasing market turmoil. If you want to be on top of the most up-to-date analysis on the biggest developments in economics and finance around the world through a balanced digest and grounded in sober analysis, consider subscribing to Market Update, hit the bell notification icon, and you will be. And if you're getting some value from today's episode of Market Update, don't forget to hit the like button. Next up, we move to Europe. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz's trip to Washington this week was as much about diplomacy as it was about securing the future of Germany's fragile economy. In a calculated Oval Office encounter with US President Donald Trump on Thursday, Merz sought to head off a looming transatlantic trade war while projecting confidence at home in his ambitious economic revival plan. Germany, already struggling with stagnation, now faces the specter of 50% US tariffs on European cars, set to take effect in July. With $25 billion in German vehicle exports to the US in 2024 alone, the stakes are enormous. Yet even as Merz played diplomat abroad, his government is executing one of the boldest domestic economic overhauls in decades. At the core is a €36 billion corporate tax break package aimed at reviving business investment, which has dropped 9% below pre-pandemic levels. Combined with over €1 trillion in planned public investment, including defense, digitization, and infrastructure, the program marks a decisive break from Germany's post-war fiscal conservatism. Quote, "This is a growth booster," end quote, said Germany's finance minister, presenting the stimulus package as key to, quote, "securing jobs," end quote, and improving competitiveness. The measures include accelerated tax depreciation for equipment and electric vehicles, a gradual cut in the federal corporate tax rate from 15% to 10% by 2028, and expanded R&D initiatives. Investors have responded positively. The DAX has surged 22% this year, outpacing global peers, and global funds are again eyeing Germany as a key pillar in the European revival. Quote, "It's a palpable change," end quote, said Jim Zelter, co-president of Apollo Global Management. But in industrial cities, optimism is harder to find. Trump's trade policies are already prompting companies like Mercedes-Benz to shift production to the US. In Washington, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick confirmed automakers are offering new US investments as leverage against the impending tariffs. Trump, meanwhile, continues to pressure European leaders, threatening more duties on aluminium and steel and demanding industrial repatriation. Merz is attempting to steer Germany through this turbulence with a blend of fiscal activism and tough talk. He has promised further cuts to welfare spending and warned voters that the era of work-life balance may have to give way to economic discipline. Quote, "With a 4-day work week and work-life balance, we will not be able to maintain the prosperity of this country," end quote, he said. The success of Merz's plan depends on more than tax incentives. It hinges on whether the German public, already fatigued by years of economic stagnation, will accept the short-term sacrifices needed to rebuild long-term competitiveness, and whether Trump's White House offers enough breathing room for that recovery to take hold. If not, Germany may find its economic reboot derailed, not by a lack of ambition, but by the collision of domestic pushback with geopolitical volatility. Okay, that is today's episode of Market Update. Thank you so much everybody for watching. Have a good Friday, have a restful weekend. There may be an extra episode over the weekend, so I will either see you in the weekend or for a new week of updates on Monday.